Arya stood in the center of the training arena, her fists trembling slightly. The air smelled of ozone and metal, a mix of the energy shields and the synthetic mats beneath her feet. The arena was a large, circular room, lined with reinforced walls and suspended platforms. Around her, other trainees practiced their punches, kicks, and energy manipulations, each movement precise, fast, and strong. The instructors watched from above, their faces hard, their eyes like scanning machines. Among them, Master Kale, a tall, imposing figure with graying hair and a sharp jawline, observed every movement with a faint smirk. "Focus, trainee," Kale said in a voice that was calm, but carried the weight of authority. "Power comes from control, not force." Arya nodded, though doubt gnawed at her confidence. She had trained for months, pushing her body to exhaustion, running simulations, analyzing biomechanics, and studying the techniques of both humans and advanced alien combat protocols. Still, when she tried to put her knowledge into practice, her punches felt weak. She swung again, imagining the energy flowing from her core, but when her fist struck the dummy, it barely moved. KL let out a short, dry laugh. "Huh. Is that all you've got, Arya?" His voice echoed in the arena. "I've seen children hit harder." Her ears burned. The laughter was not cruel, exactly, but it was enough to make her cheeks flush. Around her, the other trainees glanced, some hiding their smirks behind their hands. A few whispered to each other, shaking their heads. "She'll never be strong enough," one muttered. Arya's first instinct was to retreat, to sink into the shadow of doubt. But then, she felt something stir inside, a spark she had felt many times before when she refused to quit. She clenched her fists, inhaled slowly, and tried to center herself. Kale's eyes seemed to pierce into her, not with anger, but with a kind of challenge. "Again," he said. "Show me more than that. Show me control." Arya adjusted her stance. Feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, core tight. She remembered the studies she had done late at night in the labs, analyzing human muscle structure, neural response, and energy release. She thought about the moments when humans had survived impossible odds, when ingenuity and determination had turned the tide. Her mind raced with the idea that strength was not just about raw power, it was about timing, precision, and focus. She swung her fist again. This time, she imagined her body as a single machine. Every muscle, every nerve, every drop of energy coordinated perfectly. Her fist met the dummy with a snap. It moved slightly more than before. Kale raised an eyebrow. The other trainees looked surprised. "Better," Kale said, his tone neutral. "But still not enough." Arya's shoulders slumped slightly. Months of preparation, hidden training, and late-night calculations felt like they had only brought her halfway there. She looked around at the others. Most of them were naturally strong, their bodies trained from childhood. Some had alien genetic modifications, designed to enhance reflexes, endurance, or strength. And here she was, human, without any modifications, seemingly fragile compared to her peers. But she refused to give up. Not now. Not ever. After the session, Arya retreated to a quiet corner of the facility, a small room with a padded floor and a single training dummy. She took out her notebook, filled with calculations, muscle diagrams, and observations. She studied every detail of her previous attempts, analyzing where her energy leaked, where her timing faltered, and how her neural signals could be optimized. "Humans are adaptable," she whispered to herself, flipping through pages. "We may not be the strongest naturally, but we can learn, we can improve, and we can exceed limits." Her hands shook as she punched the air, imagining perfect form. She practiced sequences she had never shared with anyone, experimenting with angles, velocity, and the subtle shifts of weight that could make a punch more powerful. Hours passed, and the sun outside the facility began to set. painting the sky in shades of orange and purple through the large, reinforced windows. By the time she stopped, her arms ached, her knuckles were raw, and sweat soaked her clothes. Yet, inside, there was a calm determination. She knew she had discovered something hidden inside her, waiting to be released. The next day, during official training, Kale announced a new session. "Pair up," he said. "Show me your skills. I want to see improvement." Arya's stomach tightened. She had a choice. Continue to fight silently, hidden in the corner, or step forward and let her progress be judged. She chose the latter. Her partner was Joran, a tall, muscular trainee with modifications that enhanced his speed. They circled each other cautiously. Joran smirked, clearly confident he would dominate the session. Arya took a deep breath, recalling the techniques she had practiced in private. Joran made the first move, a quick strike aimed at her side. Arya stepped aside, her movements fluid, her body remembering the training from the previous night. She struck in response, not with brute force, but with controlled precision. Her punch landed, and Joran stumbled slightly, surprised by the impact. Kale's eyes narrowed. Interesting," he murmured. "Human potential, always underestimated." Arya felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps she was on the right path. Slowly, she began to feel a rhythm, a connection between mind and body that made her movements faster, her punches more effective. By the end of the session, though, she was exhausted. Her clothes were soaked with sweat, her muscles screamed in protest, but a small, satisfied smile crossed her face. She had improved. Not as much as she wanted, but enough to know she was capable of more. Later, in the lounge, other trainees whispered about her performance. Some were impressed, some still doubted her. Arya didn't care about their opinions. She knew that human strength wasn't just measured in immediate results, it was measured in persistence, learning, and the ability to rise after every failure. That night, Arya returned to her private training room. She stared at the reinforced wall and touched the dummy with reverent hands. She imagined the day she would strike with the full power of her training, breaking limits that no one thought possible. She didn't know exactly when that day would come, but she felt it in her bones. Humans had hidden potential, and she was going to unlock hers. As she practiced late into the night, a sense of calm determination filled her. The stars outside twinkled in the dark sky, distant and cold, yet somehow inspiring. Humanity had always reached for the stars, despite obstacles and doubts. Arya felt a deep connection to that legacy. She wasn't just training to win a fight. She was training to prove that human ingenuity, resilience, and heart could surpass even the greatest expectations. And deep inside, she knew that one day, when her punch truly counted, no one would doubt human strength again. The next morning, the training facility buzzed with energy. Trainees moved swiftly between stations, practicing strikes, blocks, and complex combat maneuvers. Arya entered the arena quietly, her eyes scanning the room. She no longer felt the heavy weight of doubt that had pressed down on her before. Last night's practice had awakened something new, a quiet confidence that hummed in her muscles, a rhythm that promised growth. Her fellow trainees glanced at her as she passed. Some still whispered. Some nodded politely. Few dared to show curiosity. Arya paid little attention. She knew that real strength came not from their opinions but from her own determination. Kale stood on the observation platform, arms crossed. His sharp eyes caught every movement, and though he appeared indifferent, Arya could feel his focus on her. She had learned over time to read his subtle reactions. A slight tilt of his head, a faint narrowing of his eyes. Even his breathing could reveal his thoughts. Today, he would notice more. Form drills first, Kale commanded. I want to see improvement. And I want precision. Humans, Your kind may surprise us, but you must prove it. Arya took her stance and began the drills. Her movements were smooth, her timing precise. Every punch, every block, every step was intentional. She felt her muscles working in harmony, her body responding faster than it had before. A spark of something unusual moved within her, a sense of control she had never experienced. As if her body remembered techniques she had only imagined before. Across the arena, Kale raised an eyebrow. Interesting, he muttered. He turned to another instructor. She's not just practicing. She's discovering something inside herself. Arya noticed the small shifts in her own strength. Small, at first, her punches pushed, training dummies slightly farther. Her kicks landed with more balance, but she felt it growing. The energy inside her was no longer just muscle and willpower. It was something more. A connection between mind, body, and timing that created bursts of force she could control. During a break, she retreated to a quiet corner. Her notebook lay open, filled with observations from the night before. She read through her notes carefully, tracing diagrams of muscle groups, neural pathways, and angles of attack. Her fingers hovered over a diagram of the human fist, then paused. She realized that her previous weakness had been a matter of wasted energy, of misaligned force. She experimented quietly, shadow punching the air, imagining her body as a single instrument, each muscle striking in perfect rhythm. Every time her fist extended, she visualized energy flowing from her core to her fingertips, precise and concentrated. Her movements were no longer clumsy. They were controlled, refined, and growing stronger with each repetition. Kale watched her from across the room. His usual smirk was replaced by a subtle frown, not of disapproval but of deep curiosity. "I wonder how far she can go," he whispered. By mid-afternoon, the training shifted to paired exercises. Arya's partner was Lyra, a fast and agile trainee with remarkable reflexes. The challenge was to test reaction time and counter-strike. Arya took her stance, focusing not on brute force, but on speed, accuracy, and timing. Lyra lunged. Arya moved instinctively, sidestepping, countering with a series of precise punches. Lyra stumbled slightly, surprised by the speed and coordination. Arya's body felt light yet powerful, a balance she had never experienced before. "Good," Kale said, quietly. He did not raise his voice, but his eyes sparkled with interest. "She's beginning to unlock human potential." After the session, Arya retreated to her private training room once again. She needed solitude to refine what she had discovered. Standing before the reinforced wall, she began her secret drills. Her movements were precise, flowing from one to another with speed and power. She imagined breaking through limits, not just the physical wall before her, but the invisible barriers she had carried in her mind. Hours passed, and the dim light of the room grew softer. Sweat dripped from her brow, and her arms trembled from effort. But each punch felt more alive, more connected to the hidden strength inside her. She realized that strength wasn't just physical, it was mental, emotional, and even spiritual. Every thought, every focus, every breath contributed to the force she could unleash. A sound at the door startled her. KL stepped in, silent and imposing. "You've been practicing longer than most," he said, his voice calm. "I underestimated you, Arya. There's potential here that I cannot ignore." Arya paused, breathing heavily. She had expected to be scolded, laughed at, or told to stop. Kale's words surprised her. "Thank you, Master Kale," she said quietly. "I'm trying to understand how far I can push myself." He nodded slowly. "Understanding comes before power. You must control what you unleash, or it will control you." His gaze swept over her movements. "Humans, your kind often surprises me, not with speed or strength alone, but with ingenuity. You find ways to bend limits without relying on tools or modifications. That is a rare gift. Arya felt a surge of pride, but she also remembered humility. She was still far from mastery. "I won't let you down," she said. "I want to be ready for anything at all." Kale's eyes softened slightly. "Good. Then you will continue, alone, sometimes, with others, sometimes. But always, push the boundaries. Humans are capable of extraordinary things, if they refuse to accept limits." He left without another word, leaving Arya alone again, but his acknowledgement lingered in her mind, like a spark waiting to ignite. In the following days, Arya's progress became more visible. Her strikes began to push training dummies with unexpected force. Her reflexes improved dramatically, and she began anticipating opponents' moves with uncanny accuracy. Fellow trainees began noticing. Some whispered admiration. Others questioned how a seemingly ordinary human could suddenly surpass their expectations. Yet, Arya kept her focus private. She trained alone at night, perfecting timing, energy flow, and precision. She explored subtle ways to maximize human potential. Testing angles, breathing, and muscle coordination. Each night, she felt stronger, faster, and more connected to herself than ever before. One evening, during a particularly intense private session, she paused in front of the reinforced wall. She had not attempted to break it yet. It was not about destruction. It was about focus. She raised her fist, felt the power flow from her core, and struck the wall with controlled force. The wall didn't shatter, but a small crack appeared, running from the base upward. Arya stepped back, astonished. A mixture of excitement and calm focus filled her. She realized that the journey was just beginning, that human potential was more than strength. It was precision, focus, and willpower combined. She had glimpsed the first proof that humans could surpass limits, even when others laughed or doubted them. That night, she sat in the quiet of her room, looking out at the stars. The vastness of space seemed to mirror the potential inside her, a limitless frontier waiting to be explored. She whispered to herself, almost like a promise, "I will push further. I will show what humans can truly do." And deep inside, she knew it was only a matter of time before her true strength would emerge. One punch, perfectly timed and fully focused, that would make even the skeptics pause. Arya's hidden potential was no longer hidden. It was growing, waiting for the moment when it could no longer be ignored. The weak punch of yesterday had transformed into the first step of something extraordinary, a glimpse of the human spirit that refused to be limited. The morning sun cast long, golden beams across the training arena. The hum of energy shields filled the air, mingling with the faint metallic scent of the facility. Today was different. Kale had announced a special session, the first test. This was a demonstration meant to show the progress of all trainees, a chance to prove themselves before instructors and peers alike. Arya's stomach twisted with a mix of nerves and anticipation. She had spent weeks refining her technique, studying her body, and practicing in secret. Her hidden potential had grown, but she had never tested it under pressure, under the eyes of everyone in the arena. Her classmates lined up, showing off polished movements, kicks, and energy strikes. Some were confident, others nervous, but all were expecting to impress Kale. Arya's focus, however, was inward. She adjusted her stance, feeling the balance in her legs, the energy flowing through her core, the precision in her fists. This test was not about impressing anyone, it was about proving to herself that she could reach her limits. Kale's voice cut through the hum of activity. Today, each trainee will demonstrate their combat skills. Control, precision, and focus are key. I want to see improvement, but more importantly, I want to see potential. His eyes swept the room before landing on Arya. Begin. 3-1. Begin. The first trainees stepped forward, executing powerful punches and swift maneuvers. Dummies were struck with force, some spinning across the floor. Instructors murmured evaluations, noting both power and technique. Arya's turn came, and she stepped forward, head held high. Her first punch was cautious. She released only a fraction of the force she had cultivated. It met the training dummy with a light impact, barely moving it. Laughter echoed across the arena, and a familiar voice rang out Kale's short, sharp chuckle. "Ha! Is that the best you can do?" he said. The words stung, but Arya had expected this. She had been here before. What mattered now was her next move. Taking a deep breath, she closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself. She recalled every late night, every calculation, every secret drill. She remembered how humans could surpass limits through intelligence, adaptation, and determination. This was the moment to release it. She opened her eyes and focused on the wall behind the dummy, imagining energy traveling from her feet, through her legs, through her core, and into her fist. Her body became a single instrument, every muscle working in perfect coordination. She struck again. This time, the punch was not just force, it was precision, timing, and controlled energy combined. The dummy shuddered violently, then slid across the floor, knocking over a small training barrier. Gasps echoed through the arena. Even Kale's mouth opened slightly in surprise, his eyes narrowing with intrigue rather than derision. Arya did not stop. She moved into a rhythm she had never felt before. Each punch, kick, and movement flowed naturally, her body anticipating the energy and momentum needed for maximum impact. The instructors whispered to one another, realizing that something remarkable was unfolding before their eyes. Her classmates watched in shock. Many of them had spent years training with modifications, enhancements, and advanced techniques. Yet Arya, human and unmodified, was displaying power and control they had never expected. Some whispered encouragement. Others stared, their previous doubts challenged by what they saw. Kale finally spoke, his voice calm but carrying weight. Control. Timing. Focus. She has discovered something most trainees never find. Arya felt sweat trickle down her face, but it did not bother her. Her movements were instinctive, precise, and powerful. She had transformed her potential into action, and yet, she knew she was just scratching the surface. This was only the first moment of true testing. After the demonstration, Kale approached her. "Do you understand why your first strike seemed weak?" he asked, his tone more inquisitive than mocking. Arya nodded. "I wasn't ready. I didn't focus my energy, and my technique was not aligned." "Good," Kale replied. "You have something most humans lack: a mind that observes, adapts, and improves. Strength alone is easy. Control is rare. What you did just now, that is rare." Despite the praise, Arya felt no pride. She was aware of how much more she could grow. She had tasted a hint of her true potential, and it excited her. She wanted more. She wanted to see what humans, unmodified and underestimated, could truly achieve. That evening, the arena emptied, leaving Arya alone with the reinforced wall at the far end. The small crack she had made during previous practice glinted under the dim lighting. She stepped forward, breathing slowly, feeling the energy flow through her body. She struck once, feeling the rhythm of her body, the controlled release of energy. The crack widened slightly. Another punch, sharper, faster, another small fracture appeared. With every movement, she felt herself connecting with the strength she had cultivated, pushing past every limit she had believed in. Arya's training that night was different from before. She wasn't just testing technique. She was merging focus, energy, and willpower into a single purpose. She imagined herself facing impossible odds, imagining how humans had overcome insurmountable challenges through ingenuity, determination, and courage. Every strike carried not just physical energy but the weight of human potential, the legacy of resilience and adaptation. Hours passed. The crack in the wall grew. She felt her body trembling, exhausted but alive with exhilaration. She stopped for a moment, taking in what she had done. She had begun to tap into something extraordinary. The weak punch of yesterday had transformed into controlled power, capable of making an impact far beyond ordinary expectation. Her mind wandered to Kael's words, "Control is rare." She realized that what she was discovering was not just physical strength. It was human innovation, ingenuity, and perseverance made tangible. She was beginning to see how humans could surpass limits that technology and alien enhancements often could not. The next day, Kael called a meeting with the trainees. "You will demonstrate your ability to control strength under pressure. I expect surprises, and I will watch closely." Arya's heart raced. This was her chance to prove herself further, not just to the instructors, but to the peers who had doubted her. She prepared in silence, visualizing the strikes, timing, and energy control she had refined in secret. She reminded herself that humans were capable of far more than anyone believed, especially when they refused to accept limits. As she trained that night, alone again, she felt a sense of calm determination unlike anything before. She was no longer just a trainee with weak punches. She was a human, discovering her hidden potential, learning to channel her mind and body into extraordinary feats. The night passed, and the stars outside the facility twinkled with distant light. Arya felt a deep connection to them. Humanity had always reached for the stars, faced impossible challenges, and found ways to adapt and survive. She was beginning to understand that her own journey was part of that legacy. By the time she finally rested, Arya knew one thing with certainty. The weak punch of the past was gone. She was ready to face any challenge, to show what humans were truly capable of, and to surprise those who doubted her. Tomorrow's test would not just be a demonstration. It would be the first real step in revealing the extraordinary power of human potential. And deep inside, a quiet voice whispered in her mind, a promise she had made to herself. One day, when the moment is right, no one will doubt what humans can achieve. Not even the strongest walls will stand in the way. The arena was quieter than usual that morning. The usual chatter of trainees had been replaced by anticipation, a palpable tension in the air. Today was the ultimate sparring challenge, where trainees would face off in front of instructors to demonstrate all they had learned. The stakes were high. For Arya, this was the moment she had trained for in secret, the test that would measure the power she had been cultivating. Kael stood above the arena, his eyes scanning every corner. "This is not just about strength," he announced to the trainees. "It's about control, focus, and the ability to exceed expectations. Today, I want to see what humans are capable of. Prove your limits, if you can." Arya's heart pounded. She felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. Months of hidden training, late-night practice, and tireless self-improvement had led to this day. Her muscles were tense, her mind sharp, and her focus unshakable. She glanced at the other trainees, all seemingly confident, some brimming with arrogance. Few suspected that a seemingly fragile human would soon challenge their assumptions. Her sparring partner was chosen by Kael, Derek, a seasoned trainee known for his incredible speed and enhanced reflexes. He moved with fluidity and precision, muscles rippling with power. Many would have feared him. Arya's classmates whispered, certain that she would be overpowered. "Begin," Kael commanded. Derek struck first, moving quickly with a flurry of attacks. Arya dodged, sidestepped, and blocked with grace, her body moving in perfect rhythm. She was no longer relying solely on brute force. She was anticipating, calculating, and channeling her energy with precision. Each movement was deliberate, each strike controlled. The trainees watched in awe. Derek, confident and fast, found himself unable to land a decisive blow. Arya's counterattacks were small at first but precise, exploiting tiny openings he had not expected. With every block and punch, she demonstrated control far beyond her size and apparent strength. Kale's eyes narrowed with interest. "She's learning the principle I've been trying to teach for years," he murmured to an assistant. "Strength without control is wasted. But she is beginning to combine both." The match intensified. Derek grew more aggressive, increasing his speed and power. Arya felt the pressure, but she remained calm. She focused on the rhythm of her movements, the flow of energy through her body. Her fists were no longer just fists, they were the culmination of months of discipline, late-night study, and an unshakable determination to rise above doubt. Then, Derek made a mistake. He overextended, leaving a small opening. Arya seized the moment. She struck with full intent, channeling all her energy into a single, controlled punch. The impact echoed through the arena, causing a slight tremor in the floor beneath her feet. Derek stumbled backward, genuinely surprised by the force behind her strike. Gasps filled the room. The trainees stared, their previous assumptions challenged. Whispers of amazement rippled through the crowd. Kale's eyes widened slightly, a rare expression of astonishment crossing his face. "Human ingenuity," he muttered. "Always underestimated." Arya took a deep breath, her heart steady. Every late-night practice, every observation of human potential, every push past doubt had led her to this moment. She was ready for the next step, the wall. At the far end of the arena stood the reinforced training wall, a massive structure designed to withstand the strongest strikes. It had always been a symbol of limit, a barrier that no trainee had yet broken. Arya approached it slowly, her movements deliberate. Her body hummed with energy, each muscle coordinated, each nerve aligned. She visualized the force traveling from her core through her arm, into her fist, and finally into the wall. Kale watched silently, a mixture of curiosity and caution on his face. "Focus," he whispered. "Control it. Don't let it control you." Arya closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself. She recalled the first time her punch had felt weak, the laughter of Kale, the whispers of doubt from her peers. That memory no longer carried shame, it carried fuel. Determination coursed through her veins. Humans had always faced impossible odds, and they had always adapted, innovated, and overcome. Today, she would show what that meant in action. She raised her fist and struck. The wall shivered. A small crack appeared at the point of impact. Arya felt the flow of energy, the perfect alignment of mind and body. She stepped back, adjusted her stance, and struck again, this time with more speed and precision. The crack widened, spreading like a spider web across the reinforced surface. The trainees gasped. Some covered their mouths in disbelief. Others simply stared. Derek, standing nearby, stepped back, awestruck. Kale's eyes widened. Even he had not expected this. Arya paused for a moment, feeling the rhythm of her strikes. She was no longer fighting for approval. She was embodying human potential, the resilience, intelligence, and creativity that defined her species. She struck again, each punch carefully controlled, energy flowing seamlessly from her core to the wall. And then, the moment arrived. With a deep breath, Arya gathered all her strength, all her focus, and all her determination into a single, decisive punch. Her fist met the wall, and the reinforced structure shattered with a thunderous crack, sending fragments scattering across the arena. The force reverberated, and a silence fell over the room. For a moment, no one moved. The trainees, wide-eyed, stared at the broken wall. KL stood frozen, a mixture of astonishment and respect in his gaze. Finally he spoke, his voice low but filled with gravity. Incredible. That is human potential. Arya stood tall, chest heaving, sweat dripping from her brow. Her body trembled from the exertion, but her eyes shone with triumph. She had faced doubt, ridicule, and the limits imposed by expectation, and she had surpassed them all. Her classmates slowly approached, some hesitantly, others with admiration. How? One whispered. She broke the wall. Arya smiled faintly, her exhaustion tempered by satisfaction. Humans can do more than anyone expects, she said simply. If we focus, adapt, and refuse to give up, there are no limits we cannot overcome. Kale finally descended from the observation platform, standing in front of her. His usual stern expression was softened by respect. Arya, he said, his voice steady. You have shown something remarkable today. Not just strength, but control, focus, and ingenuity. You have proven that humans, when they refuse to accept limits, can achieve the extraordinary. Arya bowed slightly. Thank you, Master Kale. I only want to keep improving, to see how far humans can truly go. Kale nodded. And that is the lesson for all here. Strength alone is meaningless without control, determination, and the courage to challenge expectations. You have shown everyone today what it means to push beyond limits. The arena erupted in applause. Trainees who had once doubted her now looked at her with awe. Others felt challenged, inspired to push themselves further. Arya stood quietly, absorbing the moment. She knew this was not the end, it was only the beginning. Humanity had untapped potential, and she had just glimpsed what was possible. Later, alone in her private training room, Arya reflected on the day's events. The shattered wall lay in her mind as a symbol not of destruction, but of possibility. Every punch, every practice session, every night spent refining technique had culminated in this moment. She had faced ridicule, doubt, and the weight of expectation, and had emerged stronger. She knew that her journey was far from over. More challenges awaited, more obstacles to overcome, and more moments that would test her resolve. But one truth was clear. Humans, unmodified and underestimated, could achieve what many believed impossible. The wall had shattered, but more importantly, the limits of expectation had been broken. As Arya looked out at the stars beyond the facility, a sense of calm determination filled her. The universe was vast, full of challenges and unknown dangers. But she knew that humans, with their adaptability, ingenuity, and unwavering spirit, could face anything. And deep inside, she whispered to herself, almost like a promise, this is only the beginning. There are no limits we cannot surpass. Not walls, not expectations, not even the unknown. The arena was quiet in the aftermath of the shattered wall. The debris from Arya's punch still lay scattered across the floor, a silent testament to the extraordinary display of human potential. Trainees and instructors alike were still absorbing what had just happened. Whispers of amazement and disbelief filled the air, and even the most confident trainees could not hide their awe. Kale stood before the group, arms crossed, eyes scanning every face. Today, you have all witnessed something rare, he said, his voice calm yet commanding. What you have seen is not just strength, but focus, ingenuity, and determination, the very qualities that make humans extraordinary. Remember this lesson. Human potential is limitless when willpower and intelligence are combined. Arya stood in the center of the arena, still catching her breath. Her arms trembled slightly, but her expression was calm and proud. For the first time, she felt that all her secret practice, every late night, every calculated movement, had truly been worth it. She had gone from a trainee whose punches were weak to someone who could shatter reinforced barriers with precision and control. Her classmates approached cautiously, some offering nods of respect, others still struggling to comprehend what they had witnessed. Derek, her sparring partner, was the first to speak. Arya smiled faintly, humility in her gaze. "It's not about being incredible," she said softly. "It's about refusing to accept limits, about learning and improving every day. Anyone can do it, if they push themselves." A few trainees exchanged glances, the spark of inspiration evident in their eyes. The barriers of doubt had begun to crumble, replaced by curiosity and determination. Arya realized that her breakthrough was more than a personal victory, it was a lesson for everyone. Humans, when underestimated, could accomplish feats that others might never imagine. Kale's gaze softened as he looked at Arya. "You have set a new standard today," he said. "Your actions will inspire others. Remember, strength alone is temporary, but focus, intelligence, and determination endure. You have proven that the human spirit can surpass expectations." Later, Arya returned to her private training room, the shattered wall still vivid in her mind. She studied the fragments with care, thinking about the precise angles and the flow of energy that had made the punch so powerful. The physical wall was broken, but she realized the true lesson lay in the symbolic wall, the wall of doubt, limitation, and expectation. That was the wall humans often faced, and she had shattered it with her focus and determination. As the days passed, news of her feat spread throughout the facility. Instructors discussed her achievement in hushed tones, noting how rare it was for a human trainee to demonstrate such mastery. Other trainees began practicing harder, inspired by her example. The atmosphere shifted from competition to curiosity, with more emphasis on growth, learning, and pushing boundaries. Arya, however, remained focused. She continued her late-night training, refining her strikes, perfecting her control, and exploring new ways to channel human potential. The wall she had shattered was no longer a goal, it was a reminder that she could reach even higher. She envisioned herself facing more formidable challenges, beyond the training facility, beyond the planet, and perhaps even beyond the stars. One evening, Kale visited her quietly. "You have done something extraordinary," he said. "But this is only the beginning. Your journey will take you farther than you realize. Humans have always reached for the stars, even when the odds seemed impossible. You are part of that legacy now." Arya nodded, understanding the weight of his words. She had proven her strength, yes, but more importantly, she had discovered the truth about humans. Resilience, ingenuity, and the refusal to accept limits were far more powerful than any enhancement or natural advantage. The next training session began with a renewed sense of purpose. Arya moved with confidence, demonstrating techniques she had refined to perfection. Her classmates watched, learning not just from her punches and strikes, but from her focus, her rhythm, and the determination that radiated from her every movement. During a sparring match, a younger trainee named Talia hesitated before making her move. Arya approached her calmly, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Focus," she said gently. "Don't think about what you cannot do. Think about what you can do, and push forward. Humans are stronger than we realize." Talia nodded, inspired. She struck with newfound determination, and though her movements were not perfect, she felt the energy of possibility. Arya watched, knowing that the lesson she had learned was now spreading. Strength could be taught, yes, but determination, focus, and belief in human potential, those were contagious. Weeks passed, and Arya continued to improve. She discovered new ways to channel her energy, perfecting techniques that combined speed, precision, and power. Every strike, every movement, was a lesson in human adaptability. KL often observed silently, impressed by how far she had come. "She is not just strong," he would say quietly to the other instructors. "She embodies what it means to push beyond limits." One day, a message arrived from the central command of the human colonies. Reports of alien threats and unknown challenges had reached the facility, and the command requested that the most capable trainees be prepared for potential deployment. Arya was selected. The recognition was not just for her strength, but for her ingenuity, focus, and the ability to inspire others. Standing before the command officers, Arya felt a mix of pride and responsibility. Her journey had started with a weak punch, a moment of doubt and ridicule. But now, she stood as proof that humans could exceed expectations, achieve extraordinary feats, and face challenges that others might consider impossible. Kale's voice echoed in her memory. Humans are capable of extraordinary things if they refuse to accept limits. She carried those words like a shield and a guide. The stars beyond the windows seemed closer now, the unknown no longer intimidating, but full of opportunity. Before leaving the facility, Arya returned one last time to the shattered wall. She traced the cracks with her fingers, remembering the first moment she had struck it with all her focused energy. That wall had been a barrier, yes, but it had also been a teacher. It had taught her about control, determination, and the power of human ingenuity. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, feeling the rhythm of her body, the flow of energy, and the fire of determination in her heart. She knew that the universe held challenges far greater than any training wall. But she also knew that humans were capable of rising to meet them. Arya turned away from the broken wall and stepped into the wider world beyond the facility. Her fellow trainees watched, inspired by her journey, realizing that the limits they had accepted for themselves were only temporary. Humanity, with its adaptability, determination, and relentless spirit, could achieve the extraordinary. As she walked through the corridor leading to the launch bay, Arya felt a sense of calm excitement. She was ready for the challenges ahead. Not because she was the strongest, fastest, or most modified, but because she embodied the true potential of humanity. The refusal to give up, the courage to push beyond limits, and the ability to innovate even when the odds seemed impossible. The stars awaited. Arya smiled faintly, her fists relaxed but ready. In its place stood a symbol of human potential, a reminder that the impossible was only impossible until someone refused to accept limits. And deep inside, she knew the truth that would guide her for the rest of her journey. Humans could achieve anything when determination, focus, and ingenuity were combined. No wall, no expectation, no challenge could ever stand in their way. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but Arya was ready. Humanity was ready. The shattered wall was no longer just a wall. It was the beginning of a new era, one where humans would rise, surpass, and inspire. And Arya, with her calm strength and unyielding spirit, would lead the way.